I grew up in a small town where the church was the center of everything. It was an old brick building with wooden pews that creaked when people stood up to sing. I volunteered there during my last year of high school. I do simple things like cleaning classrooms, locking doors, and helping with evening events. One night, I stayed late after a youth meeting. It was nothing unusual. People stayed late all the time. The church was quiet in a normal way. Chairs, stacked lights dimmed, and that familiar echo you only notice when a place empties out. I was asked to lock the education wing, where the area was older than the rest of the building. Narrow halls, low ceilings, and classrooms that smelled faintly of old books and cleaning spray. I had done this many times before. As I walked down the hallway, I noticed one classroom door was slightly open. That stood out because the rule was strict. The doors stayed closed and locked. I assumed someone forgot. I pushed the door open and saw the lights were off. That was normal, but what was not normal was the sound. It was quiet, but not empty quiet, and it sounded like someone breathing slowly through their nose, steady and close. I stood still, and I didn't say anything. I waited a few seconds, thinking maybe I was imagining it, or it was air moving through the vents. But the breathing did not change. I reached for the light switch. When the lights came on, the room was empty. Chairs were pushed under tables, no one behind the desk, no one in the corners, and no closet was open. The sound stopped the moment the lights turned on. I checked the hallway, but it was empty too. I locked the door and told myself it was nothing, convincing myself that old buildings make sounds and it's normal. Over the next few weeks, I noticed small things. Classroom doors unlocked after I locked them, and the lights turned off that I knew I'd left on. One night, I found muddy footprints near the altar leading from the side entrance, but it had not rained in days. I reported it to the church staff. They said teenagers sometimes sneak in. That explanation did not fit, but I accepted it because it was easier. The last night I volunteered there, I stayed late again, and this time I was alone. As I locked the main doors, and after some time I heard the same breathing behind me, close enough that I could feel it on my neck. I did not turn around because I knew something was standing beside me. I rushed to my car without looking back and drove home. I didn't go to church for weeks after that. After a few weeks, the church announced a man had been arrested. He had been living inside the building for months using unused rooms and storage spaces, and he had been watching services from behind walls and vents. Even though the man was arrested, I stopped volunteering after that. I still attend church sometimes, but I just never stay after everyone leaves. I took a part-time job as a night caretaker at a large church complex. The pay was good and the work sounded easy. I just had to lock up, clean the floors, and make sure nothing was left running overnight. The church was made up of several buildings connected by long hallways. At night, most of the lights were off, except for emergency lights. The place always felt much bigger after dark. Even small sounds carried far and echoed longer than you would expect. My routine never really changed. I followed the same checklist every night and moved slowly from one area to the next. I liked having things the same each shift, and it helped the hours pass quietly. About a month into the job, I started noticing small signs that someone else had been there after hours. Nothing obvious like broken doors or forced locks, just little things that felt off. A bathroom stall locked when no one should have been there, a chair slightly out of place, and coffee cups left in rooms that were not used at night. At first, I assumed it was staff or volunteers staying late, but when I asked around, no one said they were. Everyone insisted the building was empty after a certain time. One night, while I was cleaning the lobby, I heard footsteps coming from the sanctuary. They were slow and steady, moving across the wooden floor. I called out thinking it was another worker finishing up, but no one answered. When I walked into the sanctuary, the footsteps stopped. The room was empty, and the doors were still locked, just like they were supposed to be. After that, it started happening more often. Always footsteps, no voices and rushing, just someone walking calmly somewhere nearby. I tried leaving lights on in certain areas to see if anything changed. When I came back later, those lights were turned off. One night, I found the baptismal pool filled with water. That should not have been possible. Only a few people had access and there were no events scheduled. I reported it again, but the response was the same as before. They said someone probably forgot, and it was probably nothing. The last night I worked there, I arrived and noticed the front door was unlocked. When I stepped inside, the air felt stale, like the building had been closed up for a long time. As I walked down the hallway, I heard breathing behind me. It was not loud, just slow and steady. It followed me, but never got closer. I finished my shift without turning around and left as soon as I could. I quit the next morning. Months later, I learned the church had a hidden underground that led somewhere. I asked the church pastor. He said that they found bones inside the underground. The government officials want to explore more inside the tunnel, but the church priest didn't allow because the priests believed that it was a way to some satanic place, and they said that we don't want to disturb them. After that, people who worked like me at that church encountered the same slow walking sound, and they said they also experienced some mild screams echoing inside the church. Most people quit after 2 to 3 days after working in that church, and whoever working on that church at night never stays after everyone leaves. When I was a kid, my family went to a big church every Sunday. It was a newer building, but not all of it was finished. Some parts were barely used, and most people did not pay attention to them. During services, the kids were allowed to walk around the hallways as long as we stayed inside the building. Adults were busy with the service, so no one really watched us closely. I liked walking around because it was quiet out there, and it felt like a different place compared to the main hall where everyone was talking and singing. One of the hallways led to a stairwell that went down to a lower level. I had seen it before, but never went down. It was not locked or blocked. It was just there, and no one seemed to care about it. One Sunday, I went down the stairs out of curiosity. The lights were dim and only turned on when you moved. The hallway at the bottom was long, with storage rooms on both sides. Most of the doors were closed and everything felt still. As I walked, I heard someone humming. It was soft and steady, and it sounded like a man, but I was not sure. It did not feel rushed or strange at first. It was calm, so I assumed it was someone from maintenance working down there. I kept walking toward the sound until I reached a door that was open. Inside the room, there was a mattress on the floor with blankets. There were food wrappers on the ground and a small lamp plugged into the wall. As soon as I stopped at the doorway, the humming stopped too. I did not say anything. I slowly stepped back and went upstairs. I did not tell anyone about it at the time. I just went back to where my family was sitting. Years later, the church closed that lower area completely. They made an announcement about safety issues and people being in places they should not be. When I was older, I learned that someone had been living down there for over a year. No one knew exactly how long he had been there or how often he watched the services from below. What stays with me the most is how normal the humming sounded. It felt like he had been there for a long time and was comfortable enough to forget anyone else might be around.